back in the 80s, 90s, that time period. If you remember, well, y'all wouldn't remember because you weren't alive, but around the same time period was when the Coca-Cola polar bears, those commercials, that's when they started. All right, so up next, who invented Pepsi? Where was Pepsi invented? And I believe, yeah, it's right here at the very end of section 2. So the no soda worked as well in recipes. Pepsi was amazing and all that, and it was all thanks to New Bern's Caleb Bradham. The next one was how were the 19th century pharmacies. All right, I'll get to that in just a second. But I wanted to talk to y'all about right here where it reads, Bradham's wild experiments were more on par with Julia Child in her kitchen than with Dr. Frankenstein in his lab. Okay, this is a comparison. This is not meaning that Bradham and Julia Child like worked together or even knew each other. They weren't even alive at the same time. Okay, so you need to know that this is comparing that Bradham and his pharmacy, when he was creating the Pepsi recipe, it was more of like cooking, because you know Julia Child was a very, very famous chef. So he was more like Julia Child in her kitchen cooking than he was like Dr. Frankenstein in a lab creating something, because like he didn't really use, like, it was not medicines and stuff like that. It wasn't a whole Dr. Frankenstein thing. It was more of him putting together fruits and spices and stuff like that. And by the way, most of y'all should know this since y'all been in my class for a while, but whenever you see like a Pepsi machine or soft drink machine, the syrup comes in a bag and then they hook it up to a line with club soda and then they mix together, and that's what makes the soft drink. Definitely not on the test, but just thought you may want to know. So, next question, how are 19th century pharmacies different from pharmacies today? What is compounding? Let's see. To a Pepsi fan, the thought of his discovering is thrilling. Bradham standing in his pharmacy, stirring carbonated water into a caramel and sugar mixture, watching the fizz and foam erupt. In that moment, Bradham created a 20th century icon that transferred the taste buds of people around the world. Oh, up here is the question, or up here is the information we need. The inventor of Pepsi-Cola, Bradham, wasn't a mad scientist. He was a 19th century pharmacist. So his drugstore in downtown New Bern had the requisite tools of the trade. They had a mortar and pestle, a scale, a beaker or two, but no buzzing Tesla coils or brains in jars. And that was something that was in some of the 19th century pharmacies, as crazy as that sounds. These things, like a mortar and pestle, you'll still see those because they're used in compounding. And the best way to describe compounding is like when you have the little dish, like it's also used in cooking, where you have a little dish and like a little mallet and you can crush spices and stuff like that. That's what you use there. So the last question was, what was the original name of Pepsi? And it was Brad's drink. When was it invented? Let's see. It's down here somewhere. He dubbed it Brad's drink in 1893. And if you remember the last video, I talked to you some about how it ended up becoming Pepsi-Cola. Okay, so I'm going to leave this out. Now we need to talk about text structure. So over here, we're going to do text structure. For growing up Pepsi. And as we know, there are 5 different types of text structure. Can be chronological, description, cause and effect, problem solution, and one more that it's right there. And let's see, chronological, let me find it. So chronological, cause and effect, problem solution, description, sorry. So description, sequence, cause and effect, problem solution, and compare and contrast. Okay, so I am a believer that you have a main type of text structure, but it may have some other kind of details into it. Like for this one, growing up Pepsi is a description. He's describing his childhood and how Pepsi was a ubiquitous part of it. However, he does this description in a chronological order. He starts from him being a kid in his house playing, and he remembers Pepsi, and then he goes through all the events. But then at the end, he talks about Caleb Bradham and Caleb Bradham's association with Pepsi. So I would definitely go with that this is a description. So the text structure type is description. But within that, he uses, so we would do like the main type and then some subtypes. So within that, he uses sequence to tell the stories from his childhood. As far as compare and contrast, problem solution, cause and effect, those are really not represented in here at all. So when I ask you what text structure is growing up Pepsi, definitely say that it's description. And then when I ask you that within the description, when he's talking about his childhood, how does he lay out that information? He lays it out in sequential order, specifically chronological order. All right, so now let's look at point of view. And here we are focusing on the point of view in which the story is written. We know who the author is, and the author is involved in the story, and the author uses, or the narrator, which in this case is the author, uses first person language such as I and me. So we know that the author is the speaker narrator. Okay, so for the growing up Pepsi part of this, that's about all that you need to know. I will post this and email you with it. And if you have any questions, please email me and let me know. Have a good day.